In the dim-lit corridors of the supernatural, mirrors stand as veiled portals to realms beyond our understanding. These reflective panes, whispering secrets to those who dare gaze into their depths, echo with the ancient curses of folklore. Legends tell of vengeful spirits trapped within, yearning to break free and cast their malevolence upon the living. Each reflection, a distorted dance of shadows, hides the sinister specters that lurk just beyond the surface. A ghastly parade of phantoms bound to mirrors as if shackled by an unseen force. For the mirror's deceit goes beyond the visual. It mirrors not just our appearance, but our fears, desires, the darkest recesses of our souls. Where reality and the supernatural intertwine, these mirrors become gateways to the macabre. As the night descends, they beckon, enticing those who dare to question their own reflections, pulling them into a distorted reality where the line between the living and the dead blurs, and the echoes of whispered curses resonate in the eternal darkness. In today's episode, we'll be gazing deep into stories where mirrors hold much more than just our own reflections, as we dive into terrifying true accounts of haunted mirrors. But before we get started, Christian and I wanted to wish you all a Merry Christmas and remind you that in true holiday tradition, we'll be dropping a video filled with scary ghost stories this Sunday the 24th on Christmas Eve. So be sure to don your gay apparel and join us for an evening of terrifying tales, as is tradition. We'll see you on the inside. Folks, welcome back to Sleep with the Lights On. We're glad you could join us. All two of you that are watching this premiere. Last week on the podcast, if you have not checked that out, every Thursday, we dove into some pretty interesting stories about haunted mirrors. And we're kind of keeping that trend going with this episode of Sleep with the Lights On. I told you in that episode that we had a few extra stories that we were kind of setting aside for the episode of Sleep with the Lights On, and that's what we're doing today. So, I'll mention it later. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Stay tuned till the end where I mention it and surprise Christian. But you're not here to listen to how our week has been. You are here to experience with us some chilling tales of haunted mirrors, and that's what we're going to get into with this first story. Don't mind if Oopsie, my page went dark. This first story is called Don't Move the Mirror, and it's by Shaniqua Don't Live Here. This happened 6 months ago in a house I moved into with a roommate. She had lived there for a year prior, and once I moved in, we started rearranging the living room. I need to note that there were old bedroom sets in the basement from the original owners of the house. Bed frames, dressers, and mirrors. Back to the living room. There was a mirror on the wall opposite the fireplace with a mirror above the mantel. The mirror opposite the fireplace came from the basement and was hung up by the girl that lived there before I moved in. So I take the mirror off the wall as we were putting our TV in that spot and prop it up against the wall perpendicular to the wall it was hung until we can figure out where to put it. Can you keep up with that?
Mm-mm.
I know, it was a lot. Pretty much just placed the mirror against the wall.
Okay, got it.
Could have just said that, you know? This is when we started to notice the weird things happening and hadn't quite realized the mirror could be the issue. There's a cot in the basement that was set up apparently by the owner of the house if he ever came to town, which is weird in my opinion, but whatever. Well, the lights above the cot randomly stopped working, and that corner of the basement just started having an eerie vibe. I tell my roommate, and we go down to investigate. What we found scared the shit out of us. Bare footprints on the cot, seemingly pacing back and forth side to side. No one in their right mind would walk barefoot down there as it's dirty and there's been rats. We measured our feet next to the prints, and while roughly the same length, they were way too wide to be either of ours. It's a lot of investigation for this. A couple days later, I am down in the basement doing laundry. I make my dog come down there with me because it's so creepy. He wouldn't stop staring at the corner containing the cot, and I felt like I was being watched. A moment later, the light above the washer and dryer started flickering, so I got the hell out of there. The same day, later in the afternoon, I'm standing in the living room on the phone with my brother, talking about work with my back to the mirror, propped against the floor. My dog starts growling and aggressively barking. My initial thought was both mine and my roommate's dog were behind me fighting over a toy, so I snapped at them to stop, and when I turned around, it was just my dog staring into the mirror, but not looking at his reflection. He's 5 years old and he's seen his reflection thousands of times. It doesn't concern him. So that freaked me out, and is when I started connecting the dots. I had a betta fish in a tank on one side of the mirror, and my roommate had a cool palm tree-like plant on the other side. My fish died suddenly, and the plant wasn't doing well no matter her efforts. I have to note, I had been telling my roommate that the mirror seemed warped because I felt like I looked horrible and fat when I saw myself in it walking into the room. Hey, welcome to my world, you know what? Every mirror, I'm like, this must be distorted.
Helps if you step out, walk back in, prepared.
Just suck your gut and be like, hey, what's up, mirror? It's just me, normal, chiseled Scott.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Classic. She apparently has also noticed this. She's like, yeah, I've also noticed that you look horribly fat and bloated. Must be the mirror. No. So I bring up my mirror theory to her, and she immediately grabs the mirror and puts it in our detached garage in the backyard. We both felt better about this until the next day. I went out back to smoke, and it was raining, so I opened the garage door for some shelter. A fluorescent bulb was on the floor in the middle of the garage as though it had fallen. It was not on a place it would have seemingly landed, and completely unbroken. It's like someone laid it there. I look up and see the mirror facing me, and GTFO. I explained this to my roommate, and we immediately grabbed the mirror to walk it across the street to Goodwill. Super convenient at the moment. She's holding it by the wire it hung on for years, and the moment we reached the edge of the property, the wire snaps and the mirror fell to the ground without breaking. This thing did not want to leave. We get it across the street and leave it. The next day, the lights in the basement started working, and we had no other weird experiences. It was just so many creepy indicators in such a short amount of time, it's hard not to put it all together. I'm including pictures, and there's a small edit at the end of this that said, added a couple more pictures of the creepy cot corner of the basement. A friend of ours put that ball we found in the basement on there to see if it would move. It did not, thankfully. The thought of walking down there and it being moved scared the hell out of me, so I ended up moving it myself. The pile of trash under the cot had some pictures of someone's children that looked slightly burnt on the edges and had 2008 and 2007 written on them. Did some research on the house, and the new owner bought it in 2009, so I'm not sure if they were his or from previous owners, but it made it a little creepier. And when looking at this mirror, and I'll throw it up on the video, it doesn't look entirely too creepy. It looks like a nice kind of, frame, but it's a normal rectangular mirror. Yeah, but apparently haunted as hell. Who would have thought?
Everything changes in the shadows of a house. Like, you can take a picture of something, but it's kind of staged. But
that
you get
true.
It into where it's normally like a mirror, into the corner or on the wall it normally is, it might look different. Not that I believe it could be haunted, but...
But you definitely don't not believe it could be haunted,
I pretty much don't believe it could be haunted.
Well...
But it's fascinating, all the interesting things that happen with mirrors and the things we feel because of mirrors.
That is true.
Mainly
disdain and self-hatred.
That's what...
Disgust.
That's what the world teaches you. That's what social media teaches you. But before then, I don't know what you saw, because it's hard to imagine the way that the world used to be anymore.
Wow. Deeper. But yeah, interesting story all the same. I don't know. Now that I've, we did that episode, and that episode was kind of fascinating to me because, again, it was one I wanted to do for a long time. But when we actually did it, the stories that were in that episode, I was like, wow, this is a little uncomfortable. Because then, like, after you're done recording, you go and you're like walking and you see there's plenty of mirrors in the house. There's never a shortage of mirrors. People are very conceited. We like to see what we look like. Yeah, it's just a kind of eerie vibe after that. And I don't even technically... Personally, I think mirrors are mirrors, if something, we talked kind of like the stone tape theory idea of like, if a mirror happens to capture something traumatic, can it hold that memory in? And that I believe more than just random Hobby Lobby mirrors being haunted for no reason whatsoever. But I'm not an expert. I obviously, come here to discuss stories, and then we inevitably wait for what you guys think. So comment below what you think about haunted mirrors. And in the meantime...
Do you think we're trained from a young age to see mirrors as magical? Because if you think about it, one of the earliest fairy tales you see is going to have mirror, mirror on the wall.
That is true. I can't say for sure if we're trained for that, but I can say that I'm personally trained to shut down completely whenever I hear you say the word magical.
I don't understand.
Yeah. Magical is just such a weird... I don't know. It's such a weird word to use for, and I mean, I hate paranormal just as much. Like, ooh, look at this paranormal thing that's happening, but we just need better words for this stuff,
I think magical is a great word.
Magical seems like you're about to jump off a box of Lucky Charms at me. And I got to be honest, that sounds delicious. But
You needed some magic in your childhood, obviously.
I had plenty of magic in my childhood.
That was spookiness. They're different.
Well, not according to you.
They come from the same place, but they're different.
Wow. Makes a whole lot of sense. But
It does to me and other people like me.
well, there's no one else quite like you, Christian, so you are alone in that.
I am unique.
Wow.
That would be my rapper name.
And it would be a very short-lived career.
It would. I admit that.
With that, let's get into this next story, which is called The Antique Oval Mirror by Bevel Thompson. Old mirrors are super sketchy. My wife got an antique oval mirror with a beautiful ornate black frame. Horrible idea. Soon after hanging it, we both started having nightmares. Other weird stuff started happening around the house, and my wife started putting a sheet over the mirror at night because, quote, it creeped her out. After inexplicably falling off the wall, Christian has some insight. After inexplicably falling off the wall one night, it stayed there for a few weeks before I threw it in the trash. After that, things went back to normal. Now the only mirrors we have are in the bathroom. Other stuff that happened while it was there were just hearing weird noises and seeing things from the corner of your eye. Little things would disappear then show up in obvious places. My wife had her hair pulled a couple times while doing dishes. Then she had a dream there were a bunch of people standing around the bed staring at us. The next day is when the mirror fell off the wall. It was hanging on a hook from a wire. The wire wasn't broken, and the hook wasn't bent. That's when I was like, yep, that needs to go. It's a nice little short one.
Yeah. As soon as somebody needs to cover up the mirror with a sheet, it's time to go.
Yeah, I know. Like, why even be like, well, it's time to cover this? No, if you feel weird vibes coming from something, doesn't matter if it's a haunted doll, a mirror, or like, expired ramen or something like that. Just throw it away. Just be like, you know what? Not for me. Not for me.
Yeah. Once you know something, once you get that feeling, that spidey sense going on.
Starts tingling.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of tingling.
Even if you're a skeptic, you're like, never mind. Let's move on because
better safe than sorry,
If it changes your moods, it's in the wrong sort of way. It's not a good thing.
It's the devil, plain and simple.
It is not the devil because there's no such devil. There's no.
Because there's no
no such thing.
Yep. Okay. Well, I guess you have that. So that's an interesting story. Nice little short one. Your favorite?
Do you think older mirrors, like 100 years and more, are more
susceptible to hauntings?
Yeah, like they're more magical. And why would you think that if you did?
Personally, when it comes to mirrors, buy a new mirror. I would not want a 100-year-old antique mirror in my home.
But I would argue against new mirrors only because there's no substance there. They're like mass produced. So that takes away any power that's, you know what I mean? Things that are mass produced just aren't as special.
Wow.
So you're going to have that mirror in your bathroom that is mass produced and it's not very impressive. And most of the time, you don't really look at that person in there. You may like, oh, my hair's out. But do you look into that person's eyes and comfort that person in the mirror?
Christian, I'm not nearly as conceited as you are. So, no. Most of the time, I'm like, is my hair fine? Okay. Yeah. See, when I get a mirror, I'm not necessarily looking for how magical it is or does it have that character that I'm after. I'm looking for, does it show my reflection? Because that's why I need it,
To make sure you're not a vampire?
No. To make sure that, once again, stray hairs. Oh, look at, something's out of place. Oh, I'm not staring at, I picture you just in your bathroom at home, just staring in the mirror for like 2 hours, like, nice,
Sometimes you have to get personal with yourself, and the only way you can do that is to look into your own eyes.
This is very uncomfortable.
But anyway, going back, do you think the older mirrors, because I think they used to be made with silver?
Sure.
Were just the way they were made kind of changed how they interacted with their environment, if possible, like, maybe feng shui sort of way?
Possibly. I think older mirrors are almost all notoriously haunted. I think anything over like 30 years is probably haunted in some way or another. Maybe not like massive weird demons popping out of the mirror at you, but weird footsteps or shadow beings in the corner of your eye. Some, I don't know. I think, yeah, it's almost inevitable. Same with like really old houses. I don't think you can get a house from the 1800s and not have ghosts inside of it.
I mean, why would you get a house that's that old without ghosts? I mean, that's just part of the...
Yeah, you're almost like, what does it to have ghosts?
Yeah. I mean,
hella Italian.
I want to buy this house from 1892.
Yeah.
Will I hear footsteps?
Does it just have crappy pipes? Because I want ghosts with that, if anything else. Yeah.
At least shadow people to wake me up.
At the very least.
Yeah.
At the very least. Yeah. And with that, we'll get into the final story from today's episode of Sleep with the Lights On. It is called Bedside Mirror Mayhem.
That seems like a bad idea.
Don't act like you ain't got like 3 mirrors by your bedside.
No, because the minute you open your eyes and you see somebody there...
You're like, oh, it's me. Oh.
It might be more of a reaction than that.
Huh. Yeah, who knows?
They need to do like a candid camera type thing where they just sneak a mirror into somebody's room and let them wake up to it and see what happens.
It sounds like a very bad show, Christian. No, that will be canceled after 3 episodes, max.
Yeah, somebody will end up in the hospital.
Kind of like this show. Anyway, this one's called Bedside Mirror Mayhem and is by Chaos Bolt. Says, I'm going to start this post by saying I am an empath, so I can pick up on energy in rooms and have always been sensitive to ghosts.
I feel it, man. I feel it.
I don't believe you do. Anyway, a while ago, when I was living at a relative's house, I started dealing with some very bizarre energy at night, particularly in the master bedroom. Shadows would move around a lot, and I would hear whispers in my ear frequently before going to bed while I was laying in bed. I actually had to sleep in a different room to get away from it because it would get very angry whenever I was sleeping in a specific room, and I would wake up with bizarre marks on my body. I am not sure if it was shadow people, a ghost, or a poltergeist more specifically that I was dealing with, but whatever it was very hostile. I lived there for about a year and ended up moving into a new apartment right before the old pandy-wandy hit. Things were pretty normal here.
What? Just kidding. Sorry.
Things were pretty normal here up until the last 2 weeks. I could feel things getting tenser in the air around here, but didn't think much of it. Then I was startled awake by a grown man standing next to my bed that I had never seen before, who I believed wanted to harm me.
Ted Bundy?
Wow. It took me 3 hours to calm down after that because it was so realistic. He was standing between me and my mirror. I blinked a few times and he vanished, but that scared the hell out of me. So I started researching online, and it turns out that mirrors next to your bed are a big no-no because they can act as a portal to the other side. I also had that same mirror next to my bed in the old house where this activity started occurring the first time. I had seen many shadow people before since I was a kid, but this is the first time I had seen someone that was so realistic. I actually checked my apartment over after to make sure there wasn't an intruder. As a precaution, I'm going to throw away the mirror. I have also placed black tourmaline and many other protective crystals around my apartment and put some salt down in my room.
Definitely empath.
Definitely. But even moving the mirror to another location has seemed to lighten the energy in the bedroom tremendously, hoping to completely clear out the apartment of whatever it was in the next few weeks, and I will never place a mirror next to my bed ever again.
I called that story before you can't have a mirror next to your bed.
Well, you didn't actually call it before.
I said it was wrong to have a mirror next to your bed. Even I knew that.
Oh, I thought that was for like weird purposes, but that's fine. In the episode, we even talked about placement, like mirror placement, and like the feng shui of it, and like the no-nos of having mirrors facing each other or mirrors back to back, or all kinds of fun stuff. You know,
I just thought of something crazy.
That almost never happens, Christian. I wonder what this could be.
Okay, so probably the 70s and 80s.
Wow.
People got a little funky and started putting mirrors above their bed and opening portals. And a lot of these people were former peace and love hippies. And you get to the 80s after having all these mirrors in the wrong place for various reasons we won't talk about here. those people changed, and they weren't very hippie-ish anymore. They were very focused on monetary gains and power. Maybe they opened a portal and it changed their soul. You ever think of that?
Now, get off me, woman. I need to make some money. Who knows?
I'm just saying that having mirrors next to your bed, if it opens portals, that could change who you are over time.
That is very interesting, yes.
But also, if, say, you want to have very vivid dreams, slide a mirror up there and visit other dimensions.
Wow. Yeah, put a small handheld mirror under your pillow and then one on the ceiling.
I don't think
just
that would
lay your
work.
head between the two.
A mirror has to see, so it couldn't...
Well, it's not going to be very comfortable if you're laying your head down on a mirror.
Yeah, no, you just put it next to your bed, and then when you dream, you go to other places you might not have access to normally.
Alternative theory, put one on one nightstand facing the other nightstand, and on the other nightstand, you have another mirror. So it's like this, and then your head just goes dead center. And you're like, all right, come get me, demons.
And then, because the opening up multiple portals, you might never return, and then your family visits you in an institution for the rest of your life, but you're still trapped between the mirrors. Don't fuck with mirrors, man.
Wow. Language. Yeah. I mean, look, that episode definitely did open. It just opens my eyes a little. That was making fun of you. Yeah, that episode did just open my eyes a little. I wish I had the soundboard. There's so many great bites that I could have used. A little short one. It's fine. It's irrelevant. But it did open my eyes a little bit about like just not just across cultures, like different, spanning the world, the globe, like what do people believe about these mirrors? But there's a lot of weird stuff that you got to think about when you're decorating your home, apparently. Not so much out here in Western culture, but everywhere else.
Maybe that explains the problem with Western culture in some people's eyes.
You might be onto something, Christian, for the first time on the show's history. You might be onto something.
There's a reason interior decorators get paid a lot of money to put the mirrors in the right places.
That's right. It's like, you know why I'm really paying you, right? The mirror placements.
Yeah.
I'm terrified.
We don't need demons.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Anyway, now that the episode is concluded.
Ooh, my neck just popped.
Riveting.
Is there a mirror in here?
I'm so glad you asked, Christian. There is, actually. Yeah, it's a little social experiment I'm conducting after our mirror episode. And you have not noticed yet, but there's actually an obsidian mirror very close to you. Almost as if you could look at it while we're recording and see if you see any demons popping up in the background. This is very... Anyone that's watching the video has already seen it. I guaranteed. Wow. Really? Really? You don't see anything over there?
Over here?
Yeah. You don't... I was like, wow, how long is this going to take for you to... I know, I was looking at mine. It's just a cool little mirror. I'm like, I don't feel anything weird about this. Just a cool little mirror. And then the demon behind me was like, yeah, it's just a cool little mirror. But I pointed it at you so that during episodes, if you catch something like just peering over your shoulder or something. I kind of talked about it in the episode itself. I said, I might look into some, like the little black mirror for the... And I found them, and they're small as hell, dude. To get an obsidian black mirror that's like large, very expensive. This thing right here was like $15, and that's like 3.5 inches. Little short one.
We're going to do some scrying.
No, not necessarily that. I'm not trying to welcome evil entities into the home.
We're going to have a part 2 of John D.
Wow. You know what else you didn't notice?
I noticed that first thing.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Your alter ego.
My alter ego, apparently. They didn't have a sale on Ernie. Otherwise, I would have got him for that side.
Oh, so I'm only worthy of sale prices?
Yeah. Fuck yeah, dude. This thing was like $10 on sale. Black Friday sale. Your boy scooped up some weird stuff for Black Friday. Night vision goggles, a doll of Bert, and a small obsidian mirror.
What's hilarious is that was given to you, Bert and Ernie comes from our listeners.
That is true. And that's kind of what I do with a lot of stuff is when our listeners make memes of it, I'm like, well, now we got to get that in the studio, And he's holding a card that says Sage Anything with Matthew Broderick holding up a giant sage. Like
Matthew
a radio.
Broderick.
Isn't that who that is?
I don't think so, man. Say Anything?
Yeah. That wasn't Matthew Broderick?
No.
Are you sure? I got to look this up right now.
Wasn't it Patrick Dempsey?
Patrick Dempsey. We'll see.
Is Say Anything 80s or early 90s?
John Cusack. We were
That's who
both
it
wrong.
was.
I was like, yeah. I was picturing this 80s guy. I was like, man, it's got to be
I
Matthew
should have
Broderick.
known it was John Cusack.
Yeah, I could picture him.
I
But
see it. I see him. I could see him in my.
I've seen him in my mind's eye.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we were both wrong. Cool. I'm going to cut that out.
Thank you, because sometimes my new job affects the way I remember things.
That is very true. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. We got fresh episodes of Sleep with the Lights On dropping every single Friday. Nope. We have fresh episodes of Sleep with the Lights On dropping every other Friday with a bonus story dropping the following day. So that means tomorrow, tune in for the bonus story from this week's episode where we give you yet another haunted mirror story. And I think you're going to enjoy it. It's a bit of a doozy. Did you have a favorite story from this episode?
I kind of like the basement one where when they tried to carry it across the street to Goodwill.
She's like, nope, not happening. I live here. Yeah. Yeah, it was a good one. Pretty much any haunted mirror story is riveting in my eyes now. I've just enjoyed them a lot. So if you have a haunted mirror story of your own, send it into the gang at thefreakydeaky.com. Listen to the podcast. New episodes every single Thursday, wherever you get your favorite spooky ghost podcast. And in the meantime, be sure to sleep with the lights on because you never know.
What may be lurking in the darkness.
Wow. Can't.
I was like, I've been sitting here for a few minutes.
You can't switch up what's lurking in the shadows.
Okay. I was like, damn it. I'm like,
wow.
You know what it was? It was like when you're taking a test and you learned everything.
Yeah.
But then when you get there, you're panicking. I'm sitting there for like the last 2 minutes.
Like he's about to say it.
What's the saying? What's the saying?
Say it.
Yeah.
You what may be lurking with. Good night, everyone.
Be scared.